Welcome back, everybody, to Chris and Harry Unplugged. This is episode 4. I'm Harry. That's Chris. And man, what a crazy week in American politics. I mean, we had Marjorie Taylor Greene showing inappropriate photos of the president's son on the House floor. We had the Republican governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, approving blatantly racist education policy. And we're going to talk about all that today, among other things.
Yeah. Seriously, a wild week. As the ball rolls closer to 2024, I'm telling you, man, like Republicans just keep getting wilder and wilder. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where we're at like a year from now. But dude, it's getting interesting.
I can't even imagine, man. We have a lot to talk about this week, and I know that this first story we have from Chris is a doozy.
Yeah,
it's been
doozy,
something
dude.
all over. Chris, tell me about it. Let me hear it, man.
All right, here's the deal, guys. Listen.
Here's the deal.
Well, this relates to news, in my opinion, because it's been talked about the last few weeks. Hollywood is a lot in the news right now. A lot of new movies, strikes, everything.
Strikes, yeah.
We're talking about Sound of Freedom, folks. We're talking about Sound of Freedom. Now, listen. Sound of Freedom is a movie about child trafficking, essentially supposed to be based on a true story about a man with the last name, I don't actually know his first name, but Ballard would be this guy's last name, Ballard. So it's basically a true story about Ballard, who ran this kind of thing to save children. And it's about a real life story of him saving a child. Republicans are having a field day with it. They love it. They think it's the best thing ever. When Democrats have spoken out against this movie, I have never seen Democrats get harassed so much. I mean, Harry and I get death threats. Harry gets swatted. But, man, when you talk out against Sound of Freedom, it strikes a nerve. I'm telling you, it strikes a nerve. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Because let me tell you something. Sound of Freedom is fucking bullshit. I'm saying it right now. Absolute shit. QAnon fucking bullshit. I want to preface this. Child trafficking is a serious issue. It is. And it should be talked about. It should. But not in this way. Not in this way. And we're just going to break it down very simple. And you can go look up, if you're listening at home, you can do some more research on this. Ballard, the man that the story's about, he has a long history, after 2 investigative reporters looked into him, of basically falsifying and misconstruing a lot of the work he did surrounding saving children. A lot of the stories he told, because he's essentially like him and his group are like vigilantes that kind of do their own thing to save children. He has severely misrepresented himself and what he does in terms of his raids to save children. One time he supposedly used a psychic in another state to ask the psychic where the child was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Among doing this, he is a pretty avid QAnon guy himself. I might get hate for saying that, but he has suggested, even this week, I believe it was 2 or 3 days ago, they wrote an article about how this guy has talked about how blood harvesting of children is real and is happening, which, as you know, led directly to American business being shot up, a pizza parlor, because a QAnon guy thought that Hillary Clinton was running a child sex ring under there. And this is why I get really angry about this stuff, because it's disgusting how you could use children and like your claim, like these people who are making this movie, their claim about caring about children, disguised in this, because I mean, you're hurting Americans, you're hurting real people, and you're not talking about the issue enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The discourse that I've seen around this movie has been something. It's been really something to watch, because we have the Democrats, or people on the left generally, or I wouldn't even say it's Democrats. I would say it's like people who are just like logical, for example, looking at this movie being like, well, this is obviously not the way to go about talking about this very important issue that should be talked about. It's obviously fueled by conspiracies, and many of the people pushing the film are also fueled by conspiracies. So some of the biggest QAnon proponents. But the Republicans will die on this hill. I mean, these people are dying on the hill that Sound of Freedom is all this is exposing the Hollywood elites and crap like that. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. And that, Ballard, the man the movie is about, like I just said, is dabbling in this anti-Hollywood, like they're drinking the blood of children. The actual actor who plays him, Caviezel, I don't know how you pronounce it. He's a big QAnon guy too. He played in a Mel Gibson movie as Jesus, I believe, or something. Recently this week, he went on a podcast, and he said that he is also under the belief that if you extract children's blood, it's something about, I think the exact quote is, it's 10 times more potent than heroin, and it makes you look younger. And again, suggesting that maybe people in Hollywood are using this, or elites are using this to be younger. Caviezel or Caviezel himself has dabbled in a lot of QAnon things. He even uses the catchphrase that QAnon uses, quote, "The storm is upon us." He loves that catchphrase. And basically all this to say that those two are at the head of this, and it's leading to, these posts in QAnon circles about how, this relates somehow to Donald Trump winning the election. For example, I've seen that, which I don't know even how we got there, but that's being talked about. Being talked about how Hollywood hates it. There's QAnon people harassing movie theater workers because they think that there was this whole string that was popular about how essentially movie theater workers are upset that this movie is being released because they're also all in with Hollywood. And so people are actually harassing movie theater workers when they go because they think they might be part of the cabal, they're part of they're pedophiles. They want to make sure that this child trafficking movie doesn't see the light of day. Really? See, this is why I call fucking bullshit, because now you're taking away from actual victims who are experiencing this fucking horrendous crime of child trafficking. You've taken away all of it, and you just have a bunch of Trumpers at the movie theaters harassing AMC workers and claiming, somehow this relates to Trump winning the election and relates to blood harvesting of children. That isn't happening, and actually getting people killed. People are, walking into pizza parlors and shooting.
The poor 18-year-old working at AMC who has to explain to a QAnon leader that he's just there making minimum wage. He's just there
making money. And again, the fact that I'm talking about this and not the child trafficking issue is not my fault. It's theirs.
Yeah.
It's theirs.
And the fact of the matter is, as you mentioned, child trafficking is such a serious issue, such a serious and disgusting issue, and we all think that it should be a conversation that we're having when we're talking about politics because it's a disgusting crime.
Right.
And that's, Chris and I are never against talking about these serious things, which Republicans would love to claim that liberals don't want them to see the movie for some reason.
Oh yeah.
But going about it in a QAnon way is
yeah, exactly. It takes away from the actual issue, and B, it's just dangerous as hell. Going down this conspiracy theory lane of QAnon is dangerous as hell. And
yeah, and I mean, I think we're just seeing a kind of a theme with these popular movements among conservatives, where whether it be Sound of Freedom or even Pride Month, where these people are going into places of work now and they're harassing people. Now they're harassing, movie theater workers. They were harassing Target employees. I mean, it's dangerous.
It's dangerous as hell, and it's this whole thing. I guess it's these anti-Hollywood people versus the elite Hollywood people, and everyone's oh my god, anti-Hollywood's winning. Apparently the actor or whoever produced the movie tried to go to Hollywood first and they denied it, and I'm buddy, they denied it.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. Probably because the character you're playing has fabricated his half his life, and you're dabbling in anyways, I think we get the point. So I'm speaking out against it. I'm doing it. Sound of Freedom is a mess. It's a fucking mess. And personally, I'll go watch it. I actually was planning to buy tickets here shortly because I have to see what it's about. I have to understand. People are going to say, "Have you watched it?" No, I'll go watch it. Anyway.
Fair enough. Look at that. I mean, hey, props to you. I'm not giving that movie any money.
No, I mean, I shouldn't, but I'm going to go watch it. And apparently it's super dramatic and again over ridiculously unrealistic, but it's based on a true story. Just whatever.
Fair enough. Well, hey, make sure to go watch Barbie after it to give it to the liberals bag as well. No,
Oppenheimer's best movie all time.
Oppenheimer.
Whatever. It's the best movie all time. I saw it last night 2 a.m. Dude.
I gotta watch it now.
I've never seen a movie 3 hours and 20 minutes equally as intense the whole time.
Damn.
It's
listen, you heard it here first on the
dude,
Chris and Harry Unplugged podcast.
It's anyways.
That's a bold claim. Listen, sorry, we're not talking about Oppenheimer this week. No, thank you for. I honestly, as I was saying to you a little bit, before we started filming, I didn't really know much about the Sound of Freedom whole thing. I just watched like the conversation online, and wow, I thought it was really toxic. So thank you for explaining.
Yeah,
it to me.
we could do like a whole episode on it. I wanted to briefly mention it because listen, I know I probably didn't cover everything, but you can go look up Sound of Freedom. I know, like I'm looking right now, the Rolling Stone and NPR have both written articles about it, about how it's like really dangerous and relating to QAnon and all that stuff. And they're really good reads, so you should check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's go to you. We don't know how to transition this one, but just transition, folks.
There's no transition from this except for the fact that, folks, we're on the verge of a third Trump indictment, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Third Trump.
Three. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. The Trump target letter.
The Trump target letter. Now, in reality, Georgia could come through before Trump or before the Department of Justice on January 6th. I know it's your home state, the great state of Georgia.
I'm in Fulton County myself.
He's in Fulton County.
Yeah.
Go tell Fannie Willis to get a move on.
I trust Fannie too. Because about 9 months ago, she said charges are imminent.
She said charges are imminent.
Define imminent. Yeah. Fannie, I love you, but I need you to define that. Anyway,
please, DA Willis, define imminent for it. No, anyway. So, folks, yeah, as you might have seen in the news, Donald Trump received another target letter from the Department of Justice. And basically, if you're not familiar, a target letter is informing you that you are the target of a certain investigation. So Trump got a target letter during the investigation into classified documents, informing him that he is the target of the investigation. He may be charged, and they listed certain charges. And then, what do you know? He was indicted. So now he has received another target letter by the Department of Justice for his actions on and surrounding January 6th. And it's very likely he's going to be indicted again. This is an investigation that's been going on for years. It was originally stalled at the Department of Justice a little bit, but now it became underway. And the certain letter listed some charges that Donald Trump might be charged with. So I think we want to go over those just a little bit.
Yep. And I want to reiterate before you get into this: when Donald Trump receives a target letter, that's very, very indicative of the fact that he's about to be indicted again. Like, that's not something to be taken lightly. A target letter is very, very serious. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, like they don't just hand out target letters, right? Like, we are kind of just waiting now. And there's still a possibility he doesn't get charged, but we'll wait. We won't make a conclusive statement when. Yeah. Anyway, let's get into some of these charges because some of them are very, very interesting. So this is citing an ABC article, by the way, where we got a lot of this information because it was great. The three statutes included in this letter include conspiracy to commit offense or to defraud the United States, otherwise known as commonly conspiracy to defraud the United States, along with a civil rights conspiracy charge, which is the one that has a lot of people interested. That kind of threw people for a spin. And of course, tampering with a witness, victim, or informant, and that's just according to sources. So there could be more charges, there could be less, there could be multiple of different statutes. But I mean, Chris, I'm sure as you remember, you've studied January 6th a lot. In the January 6th hearings, there was a lot of talk about witness tampering,
right?
Which was that last charge.
Well, yeah. So what's funny? I was talking to someone about what the last charge could relate to. I think there's potential there that it relates in some facet to Mike Pence as well, which is very interesting, and I don't think has been talked about enough. But some people say, it relates, I guess, to something about what? Wait. I'm sorry. Can you read the last charge for me one more time?
Absolutely. It's tampering with a witness, victim, or informant.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. What was the first charge?
The first charge was conspiracy to defraud the United States.
Never mind. Sorry. Maybe
you're good.
I think I might have just got my facts mixed up. But
no, well, I
think. Go ahead. You go. Sorry.
I hopefully you can help me out here. I know the viewers are probably will probably screaming at me when I say this, but I forget the woman who worked for Mark Meadows, who testified in front of the January 6th committee. Cassidy Hutchinson. Yeah. Yes. I think there were a lot of this, and Liz Cheney mentioned this at the January 6th committee. If I had to take a guess, I would assume it might involve her because there were a lot of, I think at the end of one of her hearings or at her hearing, Liz Cheney ended it with, we have information that Trump sent his team or people around him to go pressure Cassidy Hutchinson to not testify.
So that could be it.
So I think it could be something like that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, there was.
But
okay, that makes sense. There was some.
I don't know.
I don't know. Again, this is all like everyone's now doing their own personal investigative work to figure out what all this could mean. I don't know why, and I guess I'm just getting my facts mixed up. There's some conversation about the how at least one of the charges could somehow relate to what he wanted Mike Pence to do or not do, obviously, on January 6th. I don't remember how that tied in, but anyway, we'll move on.
Actually, I have the charges here, and I'm going to read them, and we can maybe put some dots together as to what we think is going on here.
Okay.
So the first charge is conspiracy to defraud the United States.
Right.
According to the U.S. criminal, and this is citing, I'm reading directly from an ABC article here. According to the U.S. Criminal Code, this potential charge would relate to 18 U.S.C. 371, a general conspiracy statute making an offense to, quote, if, quote, two or more persons conspire either to commit any offense against the United States or to defraud the United States or any agency thereof in any manner or for any purpose.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty broad statute that could just be applied pretty easily. I mean, I guess you have to define defraud. This is a 21-year-old with no degree doing something. Can you define defraud?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Well, it's broad for a reason, and there could be more charges. But I think the January 6th, or not the January 6th committee. I'm sorry, the Department of Justice has charged a couple people with that already.
Okay.
And they've gotten a lot of convictions based off that. So I imagine that they're going to go along that kind of reasoning as well for. Like Stuart Rhodes, for example, I think was charged with it. Don't quote me on that. Okay. That could have been an official proceeding, obstructing an official proceeding, but those fall under the same statute. Anyway, I'll move on. So the second charge, and this is the interesting one, conspiracy against rights in the title for 18 U.S.C. 241, which makes it a crime for two or more persons to conspire to conspire to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in the United States in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or any privilege any privilege secured by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or because of his or her having exercised such a right. And this is a reference to the Reconstruction era federal civil rights statute. So it's going all the way back, citing a federal civil rights statute that could be used against Donald Trump. And actually, and I was reading this, and I was very confused as to how this could be applied to January 6th. And many legal experts are arguing that it could have been applied to January 6th and Trump, but a GW University law professor said, I'm guessing the way they could frame this would be that Trump conspired with others to deprive the voters, maybe those 7 states where they were contesting the election, deprive those voters of their right to vote.
Ooh,
so interesting,
that's
right?
really interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a very complex legal theory.
Jack Smith's doing his work. Holy smokes.
Yeah, but I mean, we can assure the people listening that these are not just statutes they're pulling out of their ass. They're doing like intense legal research on precedent and how they could be applied.
Right.
So once the potential indictment does come, I'm interested to see how they use that. Now, the final charge is 18 U.S.C. 1512. It's, obviously tampering with a witness, victim, or informant. And I'm curious, and then as we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, I'm just curious as to who this might apply to. I think it might be Cassidy Hutchinson. It could even be Mark Meadows. But I don't know. So we'll see. So those are the charges. Okay. And I'm not sure if you have any thoughts specifically.
Yeah,
because it's super interesting.
I think the tampering, the tampering with the witness, I would agree with the Hutchinson for sure. That's one I didn't even think about. Obviously, those hearings were pretty deep in terms of the list of witnesses. I was just looking, in terms of the defraud of the United States is pretty broad, and I think this. I'm reading right now. The statute is broad enough in its terms to include any conspiracy for the purpose of impairing, obstructing, or defeating the lawful function of any department of government. any conspiracy which is calculated to obstruct or impair its efficiency and destroy the value of its operation and reports as fair, impartial, and reasonably accurate would be to defraud the United States by depriving it of its lawful right and duty, blah, 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 blah. So that, I mean, yeah. It's
a big deal. Actually, I just want to. I want to quickly
nail on the. That's hammer on the nail right there.
That seems almost like kind of case closed.
Right. Exactly. Right.
I just want to make a quick correction. Actually, I said that the first charge was obstruction of an official proceeding. It's actually the third charge, which regards a witness tampering. That is the one that over 300 people have been charged with. Stuart Rhodes was charged with. And it's very likely that Donald Trump will be charged with it as well if he's indicted. And obstructing an official proceeding, big deal. I mean, it has like an up to a pretty hefty prison sentence. So we'll see. I mean, it's kind of just up in the air. There's not much news surrounding this other than the fact that there are specific charges have been cited. Trump got this letter. Others have gotten letters in different investigations. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think my only other thoughts is, like you just said, we read at least one of the statutes. That's pretty nail on the head, right? Especially after the January 6th committee. I mean, this has garnered a lot of talk because it's federal about if he might enter a plea agreement to not run. And I think that's really my only other following thought is, it's really contested legally whether you can actually enter a plea deal that says that you are not allowed to run for office, essentially to avoid jail time. Because at this point, Donald's looking. I mean, if let's say he gets indicted let's assume he's about to get indicted for this, and then he's going to get indicted in Georgia. He's staring down the nozzle of 300 plus years in prison right now, and not some like light shit. This is like, I know a lot of people talk about how he'll never see a jail cell, and I also generally agreed with that until recently. He's looking at some really serious shit right now, especially with classified documents in January 6th. I believe it was Nixon's vice president. I'm blanking on the name. He actually
Spiro Agnew.
Correct. Thank you.
Spiro Agnew.
He got indicted for taking bribes. And he was similar to Donald Trump in the way that he was like, they're coming after me, which means they're coming after you. They're making up this whole fake. It was like a very mini Donald Trump. But he literally got up on a stage as the charges were drawing closer, and he was like, no matter what, I am not resigning. I refuse to resign. I will stay in office if they indict me, no matter what. It was less than 5 days later he resigned for a plea deal.
Wow.
Because I guess prosecutors looked at him and were like, no chance, buddy. If you're yeah. Now I think there's some follow up to that where a judge then later said that was unconstitutional because I guess you can't deprive someone of their right to, or it's almost like you're depriving citizens of the ability to vote for something or other. But it's an interesting theory that maybe there could be a work, especially in this case with this target letter, now that we're looking at an indictment, where I don't think ever in 6 years of listening to Donald Trump have we ever heard him say he was wrong, apologize, admit guilt. I mean, he's a narcissist, but maybe he won't run.
Maybe he won't run. And I think that, Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie, who we both vehemently disagree with, I think he'd be a bad president, but he was a prosecutor at one point in New Jersey. And, he mentioned the fact that in a lot of these cases, the Department of Justice will offer a plea deal. And he said, I'm almost certain that they're going to. And I imagine that the Department of Justice will. It just depends on what that plea deal is. I hope the plea deal isn't light. And I do think that I understand that he's a former president. But given the offenses, I think it would be wrong not to have him serve some form of jail time. I don't want any house arrest in Mar-a-Lago.
I completely agree.
I don't want him having the people who serve him, the people he employs, and having this lovely beach to look at in Mar-a-Lago. No, right? And the fact of the matter is, Trump and his supporters will put on this bravado. They'll say that they're not scared and that they have nothing to worry about and that Trump's okay. But that's not the truth when you look at the legal filings, because Trump says he's innocent. He says, I did nothing wrong in the classified document case specifically. why wouldn't you want the trial to get over with, Donald? Because his lawyers were in court this week arguing that the trial should be delayed until after the 2024 presidential election. If that doesn't scream he's terrified, he knows it's bad for him, then it does. And now the trial for the classified document case has been set for May 20th, 2024. Long way away, but it's plenty of time before the November election. It's 6 months, but there's plenty of room for delay. In fact, a lot of people believe that the January 6th trial will happen, if he's indicted, before the classified document case, which is frustrating. Hopefully there's not delays. But Donald, I'm going to look right in the camera when I say this one. Donald, if you're not scared, let the trial happen, man.
Donald is scared. Donald is scared. If Donald's not scared, then about every person surrounding him is terrified. Maybe Donald's just like, such an idiot who doesn't know.
That's the story right now. Just to quickly sum up,
staring at him.
The three statutes are conspiracy to commit or to defraud the United States, civil rights conspiracy charge, and tampering with a witness, victim, or informant, which likely will be obstructing an official proceeding, which many January 6th rioters have already been charged with, and I'm sure the Department of Justice will argue something similar.
100%. Maybe,
big deal.
Maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll hop on here and be like, breaking, Donald's been indicted again.
Yeah, and we've never, our podcast was not a thing before for the other two indictments, so this will be our first Trump indictment.
Yeah, but we get pretty in-depth and excited about the Trump indictments, so.
We do.
Yes.
So, folks, be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout. All right. Moving forward.
Let's talk about another 2024 presidential candidate who made the news this week.
Which would be,
Ron DeSantis.
Now, listen. Ron DeSantis approved. I'm sorry, my eyes are watering. Ron DeSantis approved Florida's new school curriculum this week. Actually, it might have been today or yesterday.
One of the,
Yep. And essentially, this is where we're going to talk about how now high schools in Florida, there's new standards that say, essentially when you're teaching about the civil rights movement and slavery, even before then, slavery in the United States, that African Americans and slaves received, quote, some personal benefit from slavery. That is one of the new standards to teach about. He was on maybe I'll put up the clip of him actually speaking, of someone asking him about this. You know what, we'll throw it up right now.
Clarification on one thing within the policy. It says instruction includes how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Could you just explain why?
Well, you should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education. You can talk about those folks. But I mean, these were scholars who put that together. It was not anything that was done politically.
Yeah, so that's a thing apparently. Also, part of the curriculum that wasn't talked about as much is another quote, and for the record, the quote I just read about personal benefit, that is a direct quote from the curriculum. The other direct quote is that they're going to teach how during the 1900s and the 1800s, how there was violent crime and riots committed by and to African Americans. So when you talk about like a lot of race riots leading up, 100 years of a span of 100 years, apparently they need to talk about how they were also committed by African Americans, which a lot of historians immediately pointed out is just weirdly inaccurate. Mostly, obviously 99% of the horrible race riots were, just slaughtering African Americans, but. Yeah. Regardless of all this, Ron DeSantis is getting a lot of heat for this. And this is kind of what I want to say about it, and you can touch on it as well. I think Kamala Harris said pretty well today, and I think this just sums it up enough. She didn't directly say this, but she pretty much said this. What the fuck are we debating right now? I just very bluntly, what the fuck are we debating? Are we, as a society, is Ron DeSantis in Florida trying to have a debate about what personal benefits there were from slavery? Is that where we're at? We're debating that? Get the fuck out. What the fuck are we debating? And furthermore, this is my opinion, and I know I've actually seen some disagreement with this. People say, Ron DeSantis himself said Booker T. Washington and other slaves, they did learn beneficial things while they were enslaved, and we should, even a historian came out, I think, with Ron DeSantis and said, we should teach. We shouldn't teach that the history of African American slavery is just all negative, and that these people or that African Americans who were enslaved also I don't really, it's hard for me to conceptualize, I guess, but I guess
seriously,
I guess how it's not just that they're all victims, they also use what they learned for good, which I guess I don't really understand. Anyways. Point being, this is how I feel about this. When you are in society and you are very privileged in society, and then your privilege starts to go away, you feel oppressed. And that's where we're at with Republicans and white men in this country. I am a white man myself, so is Harry. And I can guarantee you on everything, we're incredibly privileged compared to everybody else. But oftentimes, white people just feel like they're losing privilege, and it feels like oppression to them. And when you start to feel like you're oppressed, you have conversations like this, which in my opinion looks like you're trying to rewrite history. That's what you're trying to do. That's what Ron DeSantis and Republicans are trying to do right now. They're just slipping these little they're trying to just be like, yeah, well, in history, not everyone did kind of bad, everybody did bad, and slaves, had good things happening to them while they were enslaved. Like, such fucking bullshit. And they're uncomfortable with the idea that we could talk about that, white people did horrible things in this country for so many years.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of like Holocaust, World War II discourse, because when you're talking about like how shitty Hitler was, there's always someone on the far right. Well, it was like, well, Hitler built roads.
Right, exactly. Well, Hitler built.
He
roads.
built some road.
Right.
I'm like, I don't fucking care. Hitler could have built a spaceship to fucking Jupiter and landed a person on the planet. I don't give a shit. Right. I don't care. Right. So when we're talking about everything that's going on with Ron DeSantis and this educational standard thing, I don't care about the skills they learned while they were enslaved against their will. That's not something we should be teaching alongside slavery. There was no personal benefit to slavery. There wasn't any experiences slaves took and then furthered themselves after slavery, because after slavery they were still fucking oppressed. There was the KKK, there was lynchings, there was all these terrible things that were happening to slaves after the fact. It's like, are they teaching that? Are they talking about sharecropping? About how white farmers purposefully kept Black Americans, African Americans at the time, poor, basically keeping them legally enslaved by sharecropping? I mean, are they talking about all those things? Look, I can't believe I have to say this in 2023. There's no fucking benefit to slavery for the enslaved. None. The only people that benefited from slavery were the racist white farmers in the South who were abusing and murdering these people. And I mean, it's very frustrating for me, and I imagine so many other people. Especially, I imagine Black Americans hearing this disgusting, vile rhetoric coming from Ron DeSantis. But I took an African American history course, specifically African American history from slavery until like the 1860s, and maybe it was the 1960s. And I just remember hearing these stories about what these slave owners would do to their slaves, such as I hope. Just for a warning for people, I'm going to talk about some sexual assault stuff here. Raping women in front of their husbands and kids. You whipping people. Murdering slaves. I mean, it's just disgusting. So when you're hearing this stuff about like personal benefit, it's total horse crap. There is no personal benefit to slavery. And I can't believe we have a major political party in the United States, trying to push this crap.
Yeah. And I think that's incredibly well said. And again, like, reiterates what Kamala Harris said today. Like, just sit down for a second. Like, the fact that you even have to get into, because like someone on the Ron DeSantis committee tried to be like, well, you're minimizing them to victims or something. Like, pause. What are we debating right now? If slavery has its benefits, what the like, you're literally just doing this. You're doing this because you're anti-woke. And again, I'll reiterate it again. You're doing this because because white people feel like the white Republican narrative right now is that white people are being oppressed, and they all of a sudden feel like they have to rewrite fucking history to just, I don't know, to just, it's just
I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know.
Like
it's just this anti-woke fucking disgusting nonsense. I don't know.
And that's the thing, bro. It's like all this is in response to wokeness. This is part of Ron DeSantis' woke policy, and that's why. And you're right. Two things. What the fuck? You're right. What the fuck are we debating? Why the fuck is this even a debate in 2023? This shit gets me heated, man. Right. Why is this even a debate in 2023 where we're sitting here, where you and I have to sit on this podcast and be like, no, there was no benefit to slavery? Why do we have to say that in 2023? That's a given. It's Republicans. And I know we have some Republicans watching. Maybe we have some far right. Maybe we don't. But it's not hard to just say, no, there was no personal benefit to slavery, right? But number two, this is why it's so important that right now, for the Republican Party in its current state, we don't elect a Republican president of any kind. We don't elect Republican senators. We don't elect Republican House members, and all the way down the ballot. Because this is what the Republican Party believes. This is what they are pushing. This is what they're running on. It's absurd. It's absurd. And we cannot have this in the White House. We cannot have, whether it be DeSantis or Trump or any of these Republicans who are trying to mirror these people just for poll numbers, we cannot have people in the White House who believe that there was some personal benefit to slavery at any time in history. It's, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Dude, absolutely. 100%. Very well said. I agree.
It just gets me, bro. This shit's getting me so heated, bro.
Yeah, what a mess. Florida.
What a mess.
Florida is a mess, and yeah, I think that's probably, it might be. I don't know that there's really anything else we want to touch on that issue besides, but
just fuck them.
Just yeah. How slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit, like.
I'm just
woke.
This is the last thing I'm going to say on this. I would love for DeSantis to tell me in what instance did slavery teach a slave some things that they used after slavery, because I don't think they understand what happened after slavery. It was still Reconstruction was going on, but that failed. Reconstruction totally failed its goal, and the South was still brutally racist. You African Americans were insanely poor. They had no livelihoods, right. And there was still some massive oppression going on. So in what instance were these skills, quote unquote, that they learned during slavery ever applied?
Yeah, and
what the fuck?
Exactly. And I think this is what I kind of wanted to find. I think it's the part of the law in the curriculum now is, in Florida, is that a person should not be instructed to, quote, feel guilt, anguish, or any other form of psychological distress due to their race, color, sex, or national origin. And so I guess this relates to this, because if you, like, for example, add that, somehow during the race riots, African Americans were also actively committing, participating in race riots, which they weren't. I guess the white kids in the classroom won't feel bad about. Dude, what the fuck is this anti-woke bullshit? Holy shit.
Oh my God. This is why. Oh my God. See this. Oh, look. I just want these Republicans to point me an example when white people have been in a classroom among other people of color students where they felt shame about slavery, like they're being shamed. Like, I don't think I've ever heard of a story of a teacher being like, "You're white."
It's because, dude, it's
like, you know what I mean?
It's because it doesn't exist. These people,
yeah, of course.
When it's so funny to me, because they're always like, you don't want to be shamed in the classroom. No one's shaming you. It's that you feel shame because, I don't know, maybe you feel like maybe you really do feel that privilege. So when people start talking about how the last 200 years in America was just white people constantly, enslaving and doing horrible things, you just feel bad about yourself. I don't know what else to tell you besides go get therapy. No one's fucking shaming. Bro,
the world doesn't revolve around you.
Yeah, dude,
the world doesn't revolve around you. So when we're talking about slavery in class, or the atrocities that have been committed against Black Americans throughout our history, it's not about you, champ. It's not about you sitting in the classroom thinking the teacher is targeting you. No, it's about learning about our history that we have to remember this brutal treatment, which has persisted up until today.
That's what's super important. This is an issue that has to be talked about, and it has to be talked about accurately, because part of what Ron DeSantis in Florida is trying to do is not only change the history and rewrite it, but also in the ways that they want to not talk about it anymore, because they're like, we don't want to make people uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah. People do not understand the timeline of this in American history. You understand the first African-American child to be desegregated, like put into an all-white school in New Orleans today is 68. 68. She's like my parents' age. Like, this is not, so many Americans, including a lot of Republicans, feel like this issue happened 200 years. If we stop talking, I hear it all the time, if we stop talking about the racial issues, they'll go away. No, the fuck they won't. You're so fucking full of shit. They need to be talked. They need to be talked about more. And just, again, conceptualize that timeline. There's, like, your parents or my parents close to that age. I really, like, dude, I can't not say her name, because I just,
like, look, pull up her name. But I want to remind people, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and Brown v. Board of Education, which Chris is talking about here segregation wise, happened in like the 1960s.
Yeah, they literally just happened. They just happened
in history. Like, this is not centuries ago. This is not out of modern history. President Johnson was in office. It's not that far. It's not
Ruby
that far
Bridges. I literally made a video this morning about Ruby Bridges. I blanked on her name. I'm sorry. Yeah, Ruby Bridges. She was the first African-American girl to desegregate a New Orleans public school in 1960. She's 68. 68 right now.
And I'm sure, have you seen that photo of her?
What? Oh,
walking,
yeah. She was escorted. She was escorted by federal marshals. Federal marshals. Yep. And they're like, if we just don't talk about this anymore because it was so long ago. How the fuck do you think Ruby, like, go tell Ruby Bridges some stupid shit like that. Oh my God.
Yeah, no. Go tell Ruby Bridges and the descendants of slaves that there was some personal benefit there. Go tell them. You fuck. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but actually I'm gonna say you fucking idiots.
Yeah, dude.
Sorry. I mean, anyway, this shit just gets Chris and I so heated because it's like, what are we doing, bro? What are we doing? Let's go forward, not backwards.
Right, exactly.
Oh man. And in the name of, and look, it's all in the name of anti-wokeness. We don't mean to go on a tirade about this, but this whole anti-woke crap it's gone from, and we've talked about this in previous podcast episodes, their anti-woke agenda has gone from, we want to protect the kids, to slaves had some personal benefit. It's gone to full-blown racism, transphobia, homophobia.
Yeah. No, 100%. Mask off. Mask off. No, you're
mask off. They're going. Oh. Anyway,
you're 100%.
They're going mask off.
Mask off.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Dude,
anyway,
crazy.
Sorry, folks, but that is a very important topic to talk about. The fact that this is going on in a state, and this guy's running for president, and he has like 20% support in the Republican Party, and he's defending it. He doubled down today. He was like, anyway, okay. Should we move on?
Yeah, we got to.
Because we're gonna keep talking about
brutal.
this. All right, everybody, let's talk about another insane Republican, another ridiculous thing going on in our country right now. Tommy Tuberville, Republican senator from Alabama. Since February, he has been holding up military nominees for Defense Department nominees and all these different things since February. And the reason he's doing this is because the Defense Department has a policy that pays for the travel expenses of service members traveling to other states to have an abortion or just to access reproductive health care. Not even an abortion. You don't even have to be getting an abortion, but if you just need to go to another state to access some form of reproductive health care, that the Defense Department will cover your travel expenses, which it should. So Tommy Tuberville has been holding up all these nominees, 207. It's going to be in above 650 nominees by the end of the year if he continues doing this. And this is becoming a real problem for the military because a lot of key appointees have not been appointed. They're not. The positions are empty. For example, there right now is no confirmed leader of the U.S. Marine Corps. We don't have a leader for the Marine Corps.
What?
We don't have a leader from the Marine Corps, and it gets worse. This person plays a key role in overseeing troops in the South China Sea, which, as you know, is very contentious right now.
No. That doesn't sound important at all.
No, it's so irrelevant.
It sounds irrelevant.
Oh my. So anyway, this person who oversees the Marine Corps and has a lot of control over troops in the South China Sea, which is a very contentious area right now, we don't have a leader there. The Marine, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Marine Commandant is unfilled, and get this, the Marine Commandant, is unfilled for the first time since the Civil War. Since the Civil War, we don't have a leader in that position. And the commandant is a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And, you know, this guy's a very important role. And as for the reasons I mentioned. So we have
first time since
Republicans.
the Civil War?
For the first time in Civil War, we have Republicans actively in our government preventing our military from remaining strong, from getting stronger. They're hurting our military. And all in the name of we don't want... And look, John Kirby, who works with the Biden administration and works with the military and all this stuff, was giving a press conference the other day. And he was asked why the abortion policy is critical to military readiness. And he talked about how in our military, 1 in 5 service members are women. And they're seeing a decrease in women wanting to enroll in the military. It's a voluntary force. They're seeing a decrease in women because of these radical abortion laws in these states. And if they can't go to another state to get reproductive rights if they're in the military, they're just not going to go at all.
Yeah.
So there's a big problem right now, and this is causing as Jen Psaki said the other day, no military commander is going to tell you that the biggest problem in the military is wokeness.
Yeah.
We hate.
Dude,
Oh my
I mean, it's
God.
just like, it's disgusting. And again, it like relates all back to my very first point when we started this pod, which was you're just getting more extreme and more ridiculous as time goes on. It's like this, it's just absolutely disgusting. And for how much Republicans claim to be all about our military, they're you know, Tommy's causing quite a bit of trouble in the name of, you know, fucking, oh my God.
Dude, and you know, Jen Psaki, as you know, Biden's former press secretary, made a great point on her show recently where she was like, you know, Republican Senator Ted Cruz recently declared war on Barbie. He declared war on Barbie on Fox News. That was the tyrant.
I remember, yeah.
Ted Cruz, yeah. And Jen Psaki's like, well, clearly, senators like Ted Cruz think that that's a bigger issue than our military being weakened.
Yeah, and the Biden the Biden administration has to hammer this. I mean, really, really, like from a PR standpoint, that's like the first place my mind goes. I'm like, yeah, dude, these people are absolutely batshit. But like, dude, just take the I don't give a fuck. Take the Fox News clip of Ted Cruz declaring war on Barbie and just blast it everywhere. The Biden admin just needs to blast it. Be like, this is who you're. These are these people.
You're oh my God.
Like,
you're a senator,
and you can.
Your job is not to.
Yeah, and you can even convince Republicans to vote another way. And I know this is surprising, but again, like Republicans voting right now might look at what Tommy Tuberville's doing and say, "What the fuck? What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah. Like I'm if I'm an American citizen, like I really care that our military is doing well. You're holding up our military for stuff that I don't care about. What the fuck? And then maybe you turn on the news and you see the fact that you're in Texas. Ted Cruz is declaring war on Barbie, and maybe you're in Texas and you're you're struggling. What? Like, I'm telling you, there's room for the Biden admin and Democrats to hammer this and be like, please, like don't, dude. These people don't help Americans. They don't help Americans.
Guys. We have a Republican senator declaring war on Barbie. We have a Republican senator holding up critical, and I cannot stress critical enough, critical military appointments because he's mad that the Department of Defense reimburses people for travel expenses. Not even for the procedure. You got to pay for the procedure yourself, but reimburses travel expenses. We have Republican governors implementing racist educational standards. Guys, there's no competition here.
Yeah, it's time.
There's no world in which the Republicans are doing more for this country right now than the Democrats.
I agree.
Anyway, I just, this story about Tommy Tuberville, it's been going on since February. I had to talk about it because, the Republicans always talk about China and China this, China that, all this China. And then we don't have a leader for troops who plays a key role on the troops in the South China Sea.
Right.
Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. This is just, it's been such a...
Yeah.
See, when we started this episode, we said a lot happened in the last week.
We said we meant it. We meant it.
We meant it. Anyway, so that's that, folks.
All right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the news for this week. Just absolutely
Yeah,
Republicans being hypocritical and doing weird anti-Hollywood things. You want to do a couple segments, and then we'll read an email?
Let's jump right into some segments. What would you like to start with?
You go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if we actually want to put the image up. Maybe we'll put the blurred image up. I don't even know if that's appropriate, but
I think YouTube's
what do you
rules
think?
on.
I think
we should just describe this one.
We're just
Usually,
gonna describe this one to you.
I'm pretty good with it'll be fine. But this one, especially with YouTube, I don't know. That's a good idea.
This one's a little gross, and you're right. We're just going to describe it to you, and if you'd like to maybe do some more research into this one, you very well can. I'm not sure how much I'd recommend it, though. But earlier this week, in the House of Representatives, there was a congressional hearing on Hunter Biden. As we've talked about on this podcast before, how the Hunter Biden investigation is falling apart. Just continues to get worse for the Republicans, making them look more foolish by the day. But this one was really the nail in the coffin for this investigation, and I think a lot of Americans agree. During the middle of this congressional hearing on Hunter Biden, Marjorie Taylor Greene thought it was a good idea to whip out inappropriate photos of Hunter Biden unclothed, no clothes on the House floor and display them for people. I mean, when I saw that, my jaw dropped. The bar is low for Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The bar is low.
Very low.
Yeah.
But exposing photos of the president's son on the House floor for political gain, what the fuck is wrong with you? And it gets worse because after the fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene, from her congressional emailed a link and a story out to her supporters that included a link and to inappropriate pictures and videos of Hunter Biden. So for the party that always screams that, the liberals and the LGBTQ are exposing kids to inappropriate things, Marjorie Taylor Greene just sent out inappropriate pictures of the president's son to potential kids who are on that mailing list.
The party of family values and all that is like showing nude photos on live television during a congressional hearing. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, what possesses you to think that that's a good idea?
Again, and it's just the bar continues to get lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. They're willing to go as low as possible. And I'll be interested, maybe we should talk about at some point how I can't even begin to start to decipher what's real and what's not. A lot of people,
right.
I think Representative Jeff Jackson talks about this a lot on TikTok, how a lot of these people barely even believe the shit they say. They just, or maybe they believe it, but a lot of the shit they do, they're in closed doors. They're very normal, but when they get up, they just have to go as low as possible for, I don't know, the clicks, the campaign clicks. But dude, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, it's just such a mess.
I mean, look, let me put it this way. And I tweeted this out, if a Democrat in a congressional hearing put up inappropriate images of Ivanka Trump, right? Or any of Donald Trump's daughters, or any even a Republican members of Congress daughter or son or whoever it may be, I would be appalled. I'd be disgusted. I'd condemn them immediately. That is so gross and it's so inappropriate and so unnecessary. I would condemn them immediately. I would say, who the fuck do you think you are to do that? That's so violating of that person's privacy. That's the right response. But the Republicans embraced Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, oh my God.
No, dude. I mean,
that's a good reaction. The size.
I just don't even truly I feel like my brain melts at a lot of this stuff. I'm just dude, I don't even know what to say.
I mean, after talking about this absurd crap for an hour now, we're getting close to an hour. It's it's brain melting.
It's brain melting. It's actually
so. Anyway,
it's brain melting.
I'm gonna leave it there because it's that crazy. Chris, I want to hear.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, goes low of low. Doesn't represent Georgia, by the way. I go to Kennesaw State University, which is Cobb County. I live in Fulton County. I live in a lot of places. I don't actually, but I'm a college kid, so I have a dorm, or that's not really whatever. But her district's quite close to mine, Dalton, Georgia. Well, part of it is Dalton, Georgia, and just Marjorie, you don't represent Georgia. I'm sorry, you just don't. You just don't. Anyways, so we'll go to my segment and we'll read an email. My segment's pretty quick. It's really just a couple things. It's just a couple words to you folks. First of all, Joe, if Joe's watching, I know I said I'd talk about Ukraine and some isolationist policies Trump made. I want to do like a little bit more of like a deep dive on that one. I don't want to make it like a little bit of a longer segment, so I'm postponing you until next week. But Joe, I promise you, I'm looking at you. I'm looking in the camera. I don't know if you watch on YouTube. Shout out Joe. I promise I have not forgotten about you, and I would love to talk about it, and I will. I promise. So I love you very much. Next week. Now, my segment and I talked about this today on a TikTok. Listen, folks, please understand something. As we just went through this entire week, controversies and Trump mess. We'll specifically relate this to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been indicted twice, once for paying off a porn star, once for stealing classified documents, about to be indicted again for inciting an insurrection. He believes the election was stolen. He was found liable for sexual abuse and had to pay $5 million. A judge recently called him a rapist. The list of controversies Donald Trump has is a mile long. He once refused to go to a service to recognize fallen Marines because he was scared his hair would get disheveled. This Donald Trump, and this guy is the front runner for the Republican nomination, and I have screamed this over and over and over and over again, and I will not stop. Just to put some things in perspective for you, if you're watching at home. Barack Obama. Two of Barack Obama's, we'll talk about one. I'm sure everyone's very familiar with the tan suit. If you're not, you can look up Obama tan suit. There's a Wikipedia page. Big controversy for Obama. He wore a tan suit at a press conference. It was not okay. This is another one you may have forgotten about. Did you know that a big controversy for Barack Obama was using Dijon mustard on a burger? No, this is not a comedy skit. Here's the clip.
President Obama is a real man of the people, and yesterday he dropped by a popular Virginia restaurant to grab a burger with his pal Joe. Now, the Gateway Pundit blog pointed out that plain old ketchup, well, it didn't quite cut it for the president. Now, take a look at him ordering his burger with a very special condiment.
All right, I'm going to have just your basic cheddar cheeseburger, medium well. I just want mustard, no ketchup. If you got like a spicy mustard or something like that, or a Dijon mustard, something like that.
All right, Dijon mustard? I think the president watched just a little bit too much television as a kid.
Yes, that was it. Fox News played this over and over again because apparently Obama was elitist because, according to Fox News, he didn't want to use, quote, regular yellow mustard. And as Sean Hannity said himself, you know, I hope you enjoy that fancy burger, Mr. President. So just remember that as you're walking through your day on this Monday. Remember that just a few years ago, the controversy was Barack Obama using Dijon mustard. And now I have to, you know, that was a big thing. People were convinced. They were like, he's an elitist. Now I have to fight to convince people that it may be a problem that we have a soon-to-be four-time, after Georgia and everything else, four-time indicted sexual abusing election denier who's gonna run for who's going to be the Republican nominee. Just that's it. Just that's all I want to say.
Isn't that remarkable?
Obama. Shout out Obama. I love Obama so much, man.
Shout out President Obama.
And then we'll read an email and we'll let you folks go on this Monday. Thank you so much for all the amazing emails, guys. We read them all, I promise.
We do.
They are also very kind. I'm just going to read one today, and then next week I think we're going to kind of try to refigure out how we do emails. Again, you can email us anytime, questions at cmhsunplugged.com. You can ask us a question. A lot of you guys just reach out to say thank you and tell us about yourselves. We appreciate that so much, and I read all of them, truly. You guys are very kind, and it means the world. Yeah. We're going to do a little bit of a different one today. This is from Bradley. Okay. Bradley said, "Why are you a show called Unplugged when you're clearly using electricity? I don't understand how stupid you kids are that you don't understand the term unplugged. You have microphones, you have electricity, you have technology. You're not unplugged, you dumb piece of garbage sent from my iPhone." Bradley, I appreciate you a lot. Thank you for listening. Just so everybody knows, because we've never formally talked about this, the show is called Unplugged because a lot of times Harry and I we're mainly on TikTok. And TikTok's 30 seconds, 45 seconds, not really conversational. And you know, you have to put in a different type of work on TikTok. It's called Unplugged because we almost want to come across raw is one of the the definitions of unplugged, as if we're not filtered, we're not cutting anything as best we can. I know we have technical difficulties, but we don't cut, we fuck up, we say whatever we want, because that's kind of a version we want to show people, because we don't show it very often on TikTok. That's why the show is called Unplugged. You can look up that definition if you'd like, but Bradley, thanks for tuning in and calling us dumb. I was aware we were plugged in and had electricity, but I appreciate you letting me know that. And to everyone else, another Joe emailed us recently about thanks for creating these podcasts. I appreciate you. Andrew, Tom, Kevin, Lori, I appreciate you guys so much. And we're going to try to kind of reformulate the email segment so I can just kind of figure out how to do it in a different way. But promise I've read them all. You can email us anytime, and check us out on all platforms. And yeah, let us know in the comments and via email who you would like to see on the podcast guest-wise. Looking at some potential guests for podcasts, and want to bring someone on. So yeah, I think that'll do it. What do you think, Harry?
I think that it will do it. I think it's been a good podcast today, my man.
It's been good. Listen, everybody, enjoy your Monday. Be safe, be easy. We'll be back here next week, all platforms, Monday, 1 p.m. Appreciate you guys. Be safe.